Hey, YouTubers, it's me, Lonnie Clark, Nuts for Art. So today I apologize to you because I know I said I was going to do it Monday through Friday. So best laid plans of mice and men, I guess. Thursday and Friday, I just got too busy to make a YouTube video. So I'm going to do it this weekend for sure. And today I'm going to do this reading by Karl Grossman, and I'm going to do another reading by Dr. Helen Caldicott in her other book, The New Nuclear Danger, that I'm also reading. And so this is what I'm reading. And no, I have not contacted the publishers yet. I feel guilty. I just got too busy in the last 2 days to actually do that too. But they are on my list of things to do this weekend. So this reading might go away. I don't know if they're going to allow me to do it because I'm just reading it and I realize it's kind of a very current book and it's not self-published. So anyways, I'm going to continue to read and hopefully cross my fingers, considering Karl gave me permission. I'm just going to read it for the hearing impaired because people need to hear this. And I, again, apologize for being a little bit late. I said I was going to start 11 a.m. Google Plus time. I posted it a few minutes ago, but I need to double check where we started off. So let's get going. I'll get right into it. I concluded, well, maybe what I'll do is I will read the last two paragraphs because that's kind of a theme of an idea here. UN Secretary General Kofi Annan declared at the opening of the UN Conference of Disarmament in Geneva, Switzerland in January 1999 that space must be maintained as a, quote, weapon-free environment, and he urged that we must codify principles that can ensure that outer space remains weapons-free. Let me make sure this slide is on. Yeah, you guys can hear me. Okay. 2 months later at the UN in Geneva, a seminar was held on the prevention of an arms race in outer space, organized by the Women's International League for Peace and Freedom. It began as a presentation by me, an overview, and this is the title, an overview of the current stage of militarization of outer space. That included the information I've conveyed so far in this publication. I concluded, what the government of my country, the United States of America, is doing in space gravely endangers life on this planet. It pushes us towards nuclear catastrophe. The military use of space being planned by the U.S. is in total contradiction of the principles of peaceful international cooperation that the U.S. likes to espouse. The aim is to develop a world in which it would literally be USA über alles. I don't know what that means. Über alles. Overall, I'm sure that's what it means. Overall. Isn't that exactly where we're at right now? This flies in the face of the spirit, the ideals of the United States of America. It denigrates those courageous men and women who came to this continent and fought the horrific evil of fascism in World War II. It pushes all of us towards war in the heavens. I was followed by Wang Xiaoyu, first secretary of the delegation of China, who declared, outer space is the common heritage of human beings. It should be used entirely for peaceful purposes and for the economic, scientific, and cultural development of all countries, as well as the well-being of mankind. It must not be weaponized and become another arena of the arms race. So the first secretary delegation of China. I wonder if that means he was the first secretary or if that's a title. Anyways, his name is Wang Xiaoyu, and this is reference 37 in the book. The U.S., he said, has over the years continued its effort in developing space weapons with a view of deploying such advanced weapons in outer space in the near future. Huge amounts of human, material, and financial resources have already been put into relevant plans and programs. The momentum has recently been greatly intensified. These ominous efforts will bring about the weaponization of outer space and lead to an arms race there. The Chinese officials cited the U.S. Space Command's long-range plan. According to the plan, military space capabilities will become the major leverage in implementing national security and military strategies. Therefore, the priority task of the Space Force of the country, the United States, in the 21st century is to gain and maintain space superiority, he said. Its Space Command has thus put forward several operational concepts, such as control of space and global engagement. To put it simply, stated Wang Xiaoyu, the U.S. is seeking to deploy in some years from now the ground-based interceptors, which use outer space as a battlefield, as well as, quote, weapon systems that are directly deployed in outer space, such as space operation vehicles, space-based platforms, and lasers. People have come to realize that the weaponization of outer space has already become the sword of Damocles. Unquote. Space, he goes on, space domination is a hegemonic concept, he emphasized. Its essence is monopolization of space and denial of others' access to it. Wow, no kidding. Let's hear that again. Space domination is a hegemonic concept, he emphasized. Its essence is monopolization of space and denial of access of it to others. It aims at using outer space for achieving strategic objectives on the ground. The result of the U.S. placing weapons in space, said Wang Xiaoyu, would be either that other countries would simply cave in and acquiesce to U.S. military dominance, or they would compete and further spread weapons on the ground, sea, air, and space, unquote. He said that against this background, the international community should act without further delay to take effective measures with a view in keeping the worst from happening. He said that the UN Conference on Disarmament, as a single multilateral disarmament negotiation forum, should live up to its obligations and negotiate and conclude legal instruments banning the test, deployment, and use of any weapons, weapon systems, and their components in outer space, with a view of preventing the weaponization of outer space. Let us work together to maintain a weapon-free and peaceful space for the 21st century. Unquote. The ambassador of Sri Lanka, HMGS Palikara, who is also special coordinator of the prevention of the arms race in outer space for the UN Conference Disarmament, then spoke declaring, quote, the international community should do something about it. It will be far too late even for the space powers to wait and let the technological momentum dictate the next stage of outer space weapons development. The moment you do research, there is the urge to deploy. The moment you deploy, others will deploy. Then we have a race on our hands, unquote. Bill Sultzman, Director of Citizens for Peace in Space, presented to the audience, which included many UN delegates. U.S. Space Command Major Kevin Kimball's 1998 lecture to, quote, to future Air Force officers, unquote, at the U.S. Air Force Academy. The lecture, appearing as an overhead on the screen, began. There is a role for military use of space. Space is a medium useful for human endeavor. Space is a medium useful for human endeavor. Human endeavor is accompanied by conflict. Human conflict at its extreme requires military solutions. Space is a medium requiring exploitation for military purposes. Space control is the first order of business, unquote. Wow. That was a 1998 lecture. Let's just talk our way into space. It, quote, it goes on. It is clear that from that presentation and from other recent Space Command printed materials that the U.S. does not recognize any international restrictions by treaty or otherwise to its military activities in space, said Sultzman. He cited Vision for 2020, the Long Range Plan, Guardians of the High Frontier. He spoke about a most direct action of the U.S. in nullifying the peaceful purposes concept of space law. Its maintenance of the Space Warfare Center at Schriever Air Force Base in Colorado Springs, where future wars are being scripted with space as an area of conflict. Wow. Space Warfare Center at Schriever Air Force Base in Colorado Springs. Space Warfare Center. I didn't even know that existed. And Sulzman, a former Roman Catholic priest, ended by saying, I want to emphasize the positive. Many astronauts from many different countries have returned from their space travels to sing the praises of cooperation in keeping space free from human conflict. They point out the stunning beauty of the planet with its blue atmosphere, and they always refer to the lack of borders and boundaries which separate us who live here below. Nationalism and militarism are the farthest things from their minds. We need to build on that spirit as we try to work together in the future to keep space as the common heritage of all humankind and reserve it for peaceful purposes. Also making a presentation was Helen John of the Menwith Hill Women's Peace Camp, who has been arrested many times for protests at the Menwith Hill military facility, a key command and control component of the U.S. military program and communications surveillance center located in North Yorkshire in the United Kingdom. Okay, sorry to drag this on, but I want to repeat where this is. She has been arrested many times. Also making a presentation was Helen John of the Menwith Hill Women's Peace Camp, who has been arrested many times for protests at the Menwith Hill military facility, a key command and control component of the U.S. space military program, a key command and control component of the U.S. space military program, and a communications surveillance center located in North Yorkshire in the United Kingdom. We who have protested outside the base at Menwith Hill at a Grenham-style women's peace camp for the past 5 years cannot imagine how the international community can allow this to continue, said John. This kind of power and this kind of spy technology is beyond Hitler's wildest dreams. Following in the Führer's footsteps, the USA now intends to dominate space to protect the American military and the American business and commercial interests, having stolen everyone else's. The U.S. Space Command documents, Vision for 2020, and the Long-Range Plan spell out far from peaceful future Uncle Sam has worked out for the rest of us. It also involves increasing uses of deadly plutonium to produce the power sources for laser weapons. Werner von Braun and Edward Teller's dream of orbiting battle stations is about to come true, unquote. Women's International League for Peace and Freedom issued a statement declaring that, quote, we see outer space as an integral part of the common heritage of humankind. All scientific exploration and any other use of outer space should be for civilian research only, with a view to furthering the well-being of humanity and not for the destruction of life and the environment, unquote. The following day at the UN Conference of Disarmament, Li Changhe, ambassador for Disarmament Affairs of China, noting that the U.S., quote, in recent years has been intensifying its efforts in developing and testing weapons and weapon systems in outer space, unquote, thus making prevention of an arms race in outer space a more pressing issue. formally proposed an international legal instrument banning the test, deployment, and use of any weapon system and their components in outer space, with the view of preventing the weaponization of outer space, unquote. My delegation requests that this be circulated as an official document of the Conference of Disarmament, said the Chinese diplomat, on the floor of the historic council chamber at the UN in Geneva, a room built for the UN's predecessor, the League of Nations, bedecked with murals illustrating the struggles and accomplishments of humanity. We are ready to listen to the views and positions of all parties and to make joint efforts in promoting substantive progress. From the floor, country after country declared their support. However, the U.S. has refused to back this measure or the Canadian resolution to ban weapons in space. Because the Conference on Disarmament works on a consensus basis, U.S. obstinacy has frozen movement on this critical issue, and still has, folks. Ironically, it was the U.S. that was originally involved in initiating the Outer Space Treaty, according to Craig Eisendrath, the former U.S. State Department official who helped in its creation. Keeping space weapons free was the original intent of the treaty, says Eisendrath. The Soviet Union, slip of the tongue here, huh? The Soviet Union has launched its Sputnik satellite in 1957, and we ought to de-weaponize space before it got weaponized. And we sought to de-weaponize space before it got weaponized. A model of the State Department, let me see how far I've written. Let me see. Got to put all my glasses back on. Let's see. Not bad. I think I'm going to stop. I think I'll stop there because I'm going to go back and reread that. We've stopped at page 30 if you're interested. So I'm going to read again tomorrow or maybe even tonight. So I'll talk to you guys later. Ciao. Put your courage feet on. And I'm about to do a reading for Dr. Helen Caldecott. And I guess I'll stick that in later, but I do want to thank KEPW.org for or LP, KEPW-LP, KEPWLP. I don't quite know. I'm going to edit that, but I'm going to get going. Ciao, you guys.